I thought about going tonight.
You should go. I'll be there.
I thought about going tonight. The pageants tonight.
Mm-hmm.
How many girls do they have in it?
14. I sat through all 14 interviews.
Does that play into the judging process?
Yeah. It's like a big chunk of their score. So it's their traditional dress, it's their traditional speech. They do some kind of speech about what they're passionate about, and then an on-stage question. So yeah.
Do
Super
they
serious.
do they all speak Choctaw?
No, not all of them. Mm-mm. But the ones that do, like, try to impress you with their Choctaw,
Oh,
so
for
they'll
sure.
speak it.
I would too.
All I know so far is Halito. That's hello. Yeah. That's it.
I know bad words, but I'm
Oh,
not
don't say them.
I'm
Don't
not
say
gonna say
them.
the bad words.
I love
But
it.
that's what we learned
Mm-hmm.
most of growing up.
That's crazy.
Is the
It's
little
the bad
bit
words.
the little bit of Choctaw that we picked up
They
on.
didn't teach me those. Yeah. They said we're steering clear of that. So, yeah.
So you've been in town. You got in town yesterday.
I got in town. I've been here since Monday. So I competed in a pageant last week. Came from there to here. Came here Monday, and then I've been here all week. We ate at Philip M's last night. We went to a stickball tournament last night, which lasted till like 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Who won? Nanawaya?
I think no, the Oklahoma team.
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. I think I'm right. I think that's right. I didn't really pay. I'm not a sports girl when it comes to like sports I'm not passionate about. So I just kind of stood there and was like, yay.
Well, those names are not the easiest
No,
to
and then that's another thing. They
pronounce.
all start blending together. So yeah.
County
Yeah.
Line Congregation, we've got Emmie Perkins back in the seat with us.
Yes.
Emmie, so glad to have you. You're in town to be a judge in
Yes.
the Choctaw Indian Princess pageant.
Yes. I'm excited.
But you yourself just recently competed in another pageant, right?
I did. I competed in Miss Mississippi Volunteer, and I did it for the opportunity for more scholarships. And then I wanted to compete in fitness and wellness because Miss Mississippi America didn't offer that when I competed. So
Fitness and wellness, as in,
Yes.
so y'all did a fitness test?
bathing suits. So we got
Oh,
to
okay.
walk on stage in bathing suits, kind of like the old Miss America
Mm-hmm.
was. It was a lot of fun. It was exhilarating. It was scary, but you face a fear every single day to get better.
Did you ramp up your fitness activity
Oh, yeah.
leading up to the swimsuit
Yes,
competition?
I definitely did. And I really changed my entire fitness lifestyle. I have a really cool trainer. His name's Body by Craig is his little handle on Instagram, but he is from Virginia. And so he specializes in bikini training for women in pageantry. So that's pretty cool. And he really does emphasize on whole foods, fasting, and he loves to help create strong women, not just skinny women. So it was really fun getting ready for it.
What did the fasting consist of?
You eat between the hours of like 11 and 7 or like 12 to 8. So it was very difficult. At first, I was torn apart because I'm a breakfast person.
So from lunch to supper,
Yeah.
right before you go to bed?
And then you cut off at 8.
What I find myself doing, I don't eat as clean as I would like to.
Yeah, you eat
That's-
gizzards. Yeah.
But what I do find myself doing is fasting unintentionally.
Yeah, unintentionally.
And so
Yeah.
it's like I try to make up for my shitty eating habits.
By eating in a window.
Mhm,
And that's
mhm.
what's so weird for me is I think I was such a breakfast person because I would be on the road as Miss Mississippi bright and early. And so I would have to have something in the car because I'd get bored and I'd snack as I drove at like 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. And I had to completely cut that out of my lifestyle and only eat lunch. But sometimes I eat breakfast for lunch because breakfast is the best meal of the day.
Are you enjoying not being on the road every single day with Miss Mississippi?
Well, it's crazy you asked that because I gave up my title as Miss Mississippi on June 10th. We crowned Vivian O'Neill, the new Miss Mississippi. And then from there, I had 3 weeks to prepare for the volunteer competition. So I was full force, jumped in and prepared for that and went to Tupelo, competed there, got first runner up. And then I came straight here. So I've been living out of my car for a couple of weeks and back to the old style of how I used to do things when I was Miss Mississippi. So it's really not slowed down. And it's honestly been a blessing to be booked for events like this one. And then I'll be on the coast next week, just exploring more of Mississippi and continuing to connect with people. And I think my platform as Miss Mississippi gave me that opportunity to continue to keep going.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What else did your fitness consist of?
Oh gosh. Lots of
Fitness regimen.
heavy lifting. I had a weighted vest that I would do 10,000 steps a day in. So you wear that weighted vest and you walk. So I walked a lot in the neighborhood and just the daily grind. But it was hard when I was in the car and busy and, moving from one place to another. But I'm excited to kind of chillax and eat donuts and traditional fair food this week.
You've earned it. You've
Yep, I've
earned
earned
it.
it.
You've earned
And
it.
I want to come back to Philadelphia for the Neshoba County Fair. So
What's stopping you?
I'm going to Austin, Texas on a girls' trip for a Miss America reunion. So after that trip, I think I'm going to pack my car up and head on to the fair. I'll miss the big nights, but I'll be at the very end of it, I think.
Don't let Austin
Uh-oh.
pull you away
Have
from
you
Mississippi.
been?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You've lived there?
No.
Okay.
No. I've visited,
You visited. Okay.
and I could definitely live there.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Good to know.
It's got everything that a young person in America
Would want.
could want. Yeah.
We're going to Lake Travis. We're going to try some of the cool touristy restaurants. I have a friend that lives there, so we're all gathering together to have a good time. So I'm excited.
I went in April.
Oh, wow.
No, May.
Okay.
For a wedding, for one of my good friends that's originally from here and has moved out there in the past 2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And met a girl. Went to UT. Was a UT.
You met a girl.
I did.
Oh, he did.
Well, I did.
Like,
I met a lot of girls.
Is this a love story?
Not mine.
Okay.
But yeah, then when he moved to Austin to start working in the golf course at a golf course out there, he somehow or another ran into this beautiful young lady, and
the rest is history.
They hit it off, and they decided to get hitched. And I went out there in May and partied it up. And
now you're back.
Yep. Now I'm back
at the best place on earth. Mississippi.
One of
the best places on earth. Yeah.
Do you think that leaving Mississippi is going to be something you'll have to wrestle with?
Yeah, I think it really will be, just because I have so many scholarship dollars from my experience at Miss America and in pageantry. I have over $40,000 waiting to be used. So I think that out-of-state school is the best option for me. But I've always said I want to explore, take my time to go and live somewhere else so that I never regret it, and then come back and build a life and a family here, just because I know what it's like to be a small town Mississippi girl and be graced by Southern hospitality, but I also know what it's like to travel the entire country just because of my experiences the last couple of years. And so I definitely want to come back after acquiring my graduate school skills, whatever that might be in. So
I definitely think you should. I think you should. I think everybody should if the opportunity's there.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
life's too short.
Yeah, and that the world's huge.
Oh my gosh.
And Mississippi's great, and I want it to prosper. And you know, I'd be jealous of wherever you ended up if you didn't come back. But you know, I mean,
we got to build it back better. And oh gosh, that was like a political slogan. Don't put that in there.
Well, Trump is he's definitely leading in the Republicans right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
you've interviewed a lot of politicians too.
Yeah.
Mississippi politicians.
Yeah.
So you probably know a lot about everything going on in the world of politics.
Well, I try to stay abreast.
Okay.
You know, I try to stay in tune, plugged into what's going on. You know, I was watching Trump last night. I mean, he's great television. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about him politically. They cannot argue that he's not entertaining.
It is entertaining, yeah. I agree.
And so I'll just sit around sometimes and watch. I watch all of them. I've been watching Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a lot lately.
Oh, wow.
But he's annoying to listen to.
Yeah. One of my favorite people that's kind of in the running for the Republican Party is Vivek
Ramaswamy.
Yes, he's a really interesting guy. So I've enjoyed kind of listening to podcasts based around him. And, you know, podcasts have become my thing as I travel across the state, or I did travel across the state, and I still have kind of adopted that habit. And so I rotate between the county line. I listen to a lot of political commentary, you know, the whole 9 yards. It's on my playlist on rotation.
You seem politically astute.
I love it. Yeah. I love politics. If I could work in politics, I would do it.
Well, I think you definitely can.
It could happen.
I think you definitely can as probably as a campaign manager.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be a cool job. You might have just answered the question of what's next for Emmie Perkins.
Shout out politicians.
Yes.
Y'all hit her up.
Yeah, just come find me. You know where to find me.
Yeah, we've got some important races coming up.
Yeah, in Mississippi
over the next election cycle. I think an interesting one will be obviously the governor, but lieutenant governor Republican primary between Delbert Hosemann and Chris McDaniel.
Absolutely. And I think this is kind of off topic, but on the subject of politics, it's been really an honor for me this week to learn about the way of the Choctaw people. I got to meet their chief, and they have their own government and system that they follow. And it's just amazing to be from Mississippi. And up until now, I've sadly never gotten to experience their world. And so that's what this week has kind of shown me, is how many different types of people are in our state. And it's just incredible to be immersed in that culture and truly get to know how they live their lives. So
they do have an interesting history,
yes,
particularly in this part of the country.
Yeah.
As it pertains to Native American history. I've done quite a bit of research and learning on
Being
the
from
history of
here.
the Choctaws. Yeah, just like when I was in college at Ole Miss, I tell people all the time, when they ask me what I studied, I tell them I just studied what I was interested
Everything,
in because I didn't know what to specify. So I got 3 minors.
Oh my gosh.
Business, education, and history.
Wow.
It's what they call a general studies degree at Ole Miss. I think it's like interdisciplinary studies at
interdisciplinary studies.
And so throughout that process, trying to attain my hours in history, I took Native American history and took African American history, which I got way more out of the Native American history than the African American. But also had the lady who was my professor at Ole Miss on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know, 3 or 4 months
For
ago.
Native American Studies?
Yeah, so she wrote a book focused on the lineage of, I think it's 4 different tribes throughout the United States, one of them being
the Choctaw,
the Mississippi Choctaw.
Well, what's so interesting is that each tribe speaks another language, and I learned that this week too, and they all have their own unique dishes, and coming from a family that's Lebanese that cooks like our food, and that's kind of how we come together, it's been neat to learn about each tribe's different dishes that they make. And so tonight, my one request before I leave town for them is that I want to try hominy. Have you ever had it?
I have.
Is it good?
It is. I like it.
Okay. And banaha, that's another one.
I have to spice it up.
Okay.
Which I think anybody does, really.
Yeah.
Hominy, it's like
a corn soup kind of deal.
It's a starch.
Okay.
It's a starch.
And I've had fry bread. I had that.
Have you had an Indian taco?
Yes. With the fry bread? Yes.
Yep.
So rich. Very rich.
How do you think they get the fry bread so thick?
I don't know, but to me, I told them that it tasted like a beignet. Like I could put some powdered sugar on that thing and
it's similar.
Go to town. It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a mix between a taco and a beignet.
Yeah, it's like one and the same.
Uh-huh.
But there's a history of the fry bread too. I think it dates back to when their people were oppressed and they were only given certain rations, and
no doubt.
They made the fry bread out of what they were given. So that's kind of an interesting history too.
That's why we eat so much fried shit in the South.
It's so bad.
Because we've been poor for so long.
Fried gizzards, fried livers, fried chicken.
We fry anything.
We can fry everything. It tastes better when it's fried.
It does.
But I've had bad fried food, I will say.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because if you get the grease too hot
it's not good.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
There's good fried food and there's bad waste of your time fried food. And I think that's one thing my fitness journey has taught me is that if I'm going to indulge in something, which I really do live a balanced life. I eat what I want to eat, but also remain healthy. But I'm like, if I'm going to eat what I want to eat, it's going to be really good. Like, it's not just going to be average fried food. Like, it's going to be Cane's or something that I have at the top of the pyramid.
Does Taco Bell make that?
Yes, actually. You want to hear what the first thing was? My order after I competed in swim that night and got first runner up.
Bless us.
Bless you with the order. 2 cheesy roll-ups, cinnamon twists, nachos with some cheese dip. I mean, I shared some of this, and a chicken and cheese quesadilla with hot sauce.
You did good. You get a Baja Blast?
No, I'm not really a Baja Blast girl. I did get it with the side of crumble cookies.
What are those?
Crumble cookies?
I haven't had those.
Are you serious?
I just ate at Taco Bell for the first time, and I couldn't tell you how long.
What, today you did?
2 days ago.
Oh, wow. You must have been at the lowest of lows. That's like my lowest of low meal.
I was wanting something quick,
easy,
and cheap.
I will say Philadelphia doesn't really have the caliber of fast food that Hattiesburg does.
No. We're still stuck in small town. We're in the small town tier as far as fast food goes.
Yeah, but crumble cookies, you need to do a crumble review on your podcast. You got to do the gizzards and the crumble. 2 separate episodes because I don't really mix. But Crumble changes their cookies every week, and I make TikTok videos every week about them.
Oh, I thought you were talking about from Taco Bell.
Oh, no. Crumble cookies. Like I had a side of crumble cookies from Crumble.
Gotcha.
That was just the dessert.
Gotcha. I'm with you. That was one of the rapid fire questions that I told you you better be ready for. And I'll put one on you right now.
Okay.
Your top 5 fast food fries.
Oh my gosh. Number 1 is Wendy's. Number 2 is McDonald's. Number 3 is Chick-fil-A. Number 4 is Cane's. And number 5, the curly fries from Arby's.
That's pretty solid.
That's pretty good.
Pretty solid.
And I
5.
don't know. I mean, I might mix them up if I'm feeling different on a different day.
What do you think about Sonic's fries?
No.
Burger King?
No.
Hardee's?
No.
They're all terrible.
I don't like them. We love discussing food, don't we?
We do. Wendy's is definitely number
Wendy's
1.
is supreme. I think Wendy's is probably just as good as Chick-fil-A. I'm going to be the person to say it. And y'all don't have a Chick-fil-A.
That is a hot take.
Yeah. I'm going to say it.
You think Wendy's is equal to Chick-fil-A?
It's close. Chick-fil-A's here. Wendy's is like right underneath it.
Same tier then.
Yeah. Kind of same tier. They're in the same tier in the pyramid. Just one's a little higher than the other.
I enjoy a very good spicy chicken sandwich.
Exactly.
From Wendy's.
You can never beat it.
But McDonald's, they need more mass on their fries.
Yeah.
They're
kind of salty and kind of papery.
Skinny.
Yeah, they're not.
It's like
waste of time.
It reminds me of those fries, like fry chips.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And you can get those in ketchup flavor too.
Ew, I'm not a fan.
You don't put ketchup on your eggs, though, do you?
No, I do not. I mean, you're gonna know everything about, like, you're gonna be like, Emmie's favorite food is this, and this, and she hates this, and that. I do not put ketchup on my eggs. Those kind of people are not to be trusted. Yeah.
I went to the beach not too long ago.
Okay, little vacation from the podcast.
About 3 days. And went to Broken Egg Cafe.
Another Broken Egg, yeah.
Yeah, another Broken Egg. I love those places. And I got Irish whiskey.
Okay.
Coffee.
Oh my goodness.
Very good. It's got cream in it.
Yum.
On the top.
Sounds rich, though.
It's a little rich.
Well, are y'all going to be making those coffees at the fair?
I will not be.
So do you stay in a cabin? That's what I need to know. Like, what's your regimen at the fair? Do you participate?
I do participate at a very high level.
Okay.
On the weekend.
On the weekend only.
And it depends on the developments of the night.
Okay.
As it pertains to where I stay.
Okay.
Wherever and if I'm on this end and it's 4:30.
Oh my goodness.
And where I usually stay is I'm just gonna stay.
Well, see, I like to go to bed at a decent time, and like for decent, I'm not talking like really late, or really early, but I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock, and that's one thing I learned about the fair is you are not going to bed until what, 5 a.m. and you're sleeping till 11, and then you're starting over again the next day because nobody wants to be out in the heat.
You just got to commit to not getting very much sleep.
You're eating like sandwiches at 5 a.m. That was the craziest thing, and I think we might have even talked about it on the podcast. Is I remember my first experience at the fair. I got there and they showed me where we were sleeping, and I was like, wait, we're all sleeping in here? It was like grandma, grandpa were on that bunk bed, mom and dad were on that one, the friends were on the other side of the room, and I was just shocked because I was like, this is literally camping. But it was cool, but it was also one of those things, I think I can only do it for a night. And then I'm like, I think I'm good. I'm going to go shower.
Yeah, it's especially that way. Like my family doesn't have a cabin.
Oh, okay.
So I've stayed in other people's cabins.
And you know
throughout my
how
life.
That goes, yeah.
And so I can definitely, but I know the people that I've stayed with are family.
Yeah.
But like if someone comes to the fair, such as you,
and needs a place to stay,
and then you're in there with all these random people in one room, I can see how it would be.
It's mind blowing a little bit,
and you would not want to do it for a very long time.
Yeah, and people then everybody's sharing a little bathroom.
One bathroom. People are snoring. You're not sleeping good in the first place.
Yeah. Well, did you hear about the documentary that was filmed at the fair last year?
I've heard rumblings.
Well, I was in it. So I'm like on IMDb as an actress, and I'm like hoping that that's my big break. I'm just kidding. But I filmed, it's called America's Last Giant House Party, and it was 13 South Productions. And so basically, I was Miss Mississippi when I visited the fair last year. And so they followed me and my friend around, Abby Seal, who was Miss Neshoba County. And then they followed us throughout the night, just kind of showed the people what a day in the life at the fair was like. And it's yet to come out, but I'm really crossing my fingers that it does come out. That or Family Feud could be my big break.
Do they have a projected release date for that documentary?
No, it was supposed to be released February-ish of this year. So,
well, you might need to reach out to them and say, look, y'all got me on there. Y'all need to go ahead and release this thing.
It'd be a perfect time to release it, to advertise the fair.
Yep. So you looking for a break in acting?
Maybe so. Had I filmed Family Feud the last time we talked?
Yes, you had. I think you had just done it.
Had I really?
Or maybe you were about to do it.
I can't remember. One of the two. But yeah, I loved being around Steve Harvey. He was one of the coolest people that I've ever met in my entire life.
I'm sure he is.
Oh my gosh, hilarious! Just as funny in person, if not funnier than he is on TV. So it's really neat.
Yeah, he's got one of those personalities that is
contagious, literally.
Very much so. Well, it seems that way through a screen. And like just the way he carries himself and his mannerisms lend him to being a funny person.
And we talked about how he's part owner in Mossy Oak Golf Club or golf course in Columbus, Mississippi, or maybe it's West Point, but pretty cool. So he comes and plays golf sometimes.
Rich people, like uber rich people, they have
they
their
have
money.
Golf courses everywhere,
they
right?
have their money in just so many different places, which I mean, I get it. I would too.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. I mean, you got to park it somewhere.
Yeah.
And, but it's just like Shaq. If you look at a list of Shaq's investments,
I bet he doesn't even know all of them.
It's just a bunch of random shit. But, he's got Papa John's. He's got the general.
Oh my gosh. He's got Papa John's.
He's got the general insurance. He's got, I can't think of any others off the top of my head.
Well, I'm going to need a list of things to invest in when I make it big one day.
Well, you can invest in the county line.
The county line. You heard it here first, folks. This is going to be my first investment.
Yeah, it's crazy what, like, I can't imagine having that amount of money and that being, I mean, everybody's problems are relative.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like I'm saying that they don't have any problems. I just can't imagine
being that comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say one thing about Steve Harvey that I did learn is he genuinely wakes up every day, does his morning show, then he films in California or in Atlanta. And so he is putting in the grind. And that is one thing that is super respectable, in my opinion, about him, is he's actually physically doing the work. And
he works his ass off.
He's growing his wealth and continuing to rise in the world of entertainment, which is super cool. Because some, entertainers make it big and then they kind of fall to the wayside, but he continues to push forward.
Yeah, and he's been doing it for so long, but many people don't recognize that he didn't.
He started with nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't make it until stand-up comedy took off, and he was in his mid-30s.
Yeah. Well, he told us that he had done a stand-up comedy show in Meridian, Mississippi. There was a venue there. I can't remember what it was called, but that they would host comedy acts, and he said he got mugged in Meridian. And
surprise.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, Steve. I was like, well, we'll show you a better time if you come back to Mississippi.
Yeah, Meridian hasn't progressed very much in the way of crime.
Yeah. Since
then, whenever that was, it's like every week.
Very dangerous.
Somebody's getting shot, and our towns, we can do everything from an economic development standpoint that we want to.
Yeah.
But if crime and education are not addressed,
those are the two big things.
Then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Education, super important too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing, like you mentioned, us not having certain restaurants or businesses here.
Yeah.
The only thing keeping Philadelphia from busting open at the seams is education.
Yeah.
Because the city schools, as we were talking about a little bit before, there are only 13 or 14 schools in the state of Mississippi that are worse academically performing wise.
Well, I visited, I don't think I had visited Neshoba County school systems yet when we filmed the podcast, but I got to go and visit their school systems. And so I got to see a firsthand glimpse inside the classroom. And so that was pretty neat. But, traveling the entire state was super eye-opening, especially going into schools. You as a former educator understand it's difficult, and the teachers have had to take on the role of the parents in a lot of cases for some of these kids. And so, that's something we're striving to be better at every day. I know that some of the numbers that were released have improved in terms of Mississippi education, but it's an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah. The one of the biggest problems that we have in Mississippi and have had is the teacher shortage.
Yeah.
And what happens is most of your highly educated and skilled teachers go to the best districts in the state.
Oh yeah.
And so then you have a conglomeration of your best talent in a few districts, and then like use Philadelphia for example, not a lot of, unless you marry somebody from Philadelphia, or
you may not stay. Yeah.
There's no reason for a teacher making $35,000 from the coast to move to Philadelphia to start their career when they could go to Gaucher and make 50.
I've got a question for you.
What's
Why
that?
did you choose to stay in Philadelphia? Like, what's drawn you to stay in the town you were raised in?
That reason, because
You feel like somebody has to give back.
somebody has to stay and help build.
Yeah.
And
Totally agree.
And I feel that I have a skill set and persona that is capable of contributing in a big way. And so also it made sense financially.
Yeah.
I recognize that I can.
Oh, Mississippi, that is one thing I feel like the cost of living is so much greater here in Mississippi than in other places.
Yes, and that is a great thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
you come to the sacrifice.
It's representative of a lack of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because obviously if you compare Mississippi's cost of living to California or New York, it's higher because you have a higher concentration of very wealthy people.
And the opportunities and the, things that you're surrounded by. I went to New York. My best friend is Miss New York. And so I got to go visit her, and she is a TikToker. And so she'll make these TikTok videos in her apartment. And I walked in and I expected it to be so much bigger, but every apartment in New York, you're living in like a pretty small area compared to what you could get here in Mississippi, which is, it was a super nice apartment, but it's just shocking what you get for your dollar in each state.
Yeah. I mean, my cousins from Charlotte, they live in Tampa now. Have lived in Nashville by way of Charlotte. And so they've been in cities.
Wow.
And they visited in March and came to my house.
I bet they were blown away.
They were like, damn, you got 2,000 square feet? It was like, what'd you pay for it? And I told them, and I got a deal on this house.
Yeah, this is a nice house. Is it historic or?
It was built in 1953. I guess that makes it historic.
Cool.
But this, it was in pretty rough shape when I got it.
Wow, so you renovated it?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, we painted the whole thing. This was here, but we put those two windows in.
Oh, wow.
And painted, put these floors in.
Oh, my gosh.
So we gave it a pretty good overhaul.
And it became the county line.
It's still a work in progress, very much.
It's improving every single time I come back.
Yeah, well, hopefully it will continue to do that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the setup we got going
I
here?
love it. I think it's very professional, very podcasty.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I love how you have a lot of cool women on the podcast, a lot of strong Mississippi women. That's been really impressive to look and see, like, the different people that you choose to showcase throughout your podcast. And so I really admire that. Super cool.
Well, it's a purpose, I feel, and an initiative to highlight our young, talented people.
Yeah, and how do you go about picking who you want to be on the county line?
Really,
research, social media?
I do a lot of research, social media. I'll take suggestions.
Oh, cool.
If Emmie Perkins has an idea of somebody that she thinks
I can send them over.
Yeah, and then I reach out.
That's cool.
I'm I've heard no a lot.
Yeah,
but I've been in sales before.
You understand how you got to call 1,000 times before one person says yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and also you got to make them tell you no. Like what I learned in sales, cold calling sales, was don't stop until no comes out of their mouth to you. Like they'll give you the runaround and be like, come back next week. All right, bet I'll be back.
I'll be back. And most of the time people don't show back up.
They don't.
That's why you got to stay persistent.
Oh, I made countless numbers of sales because I would go back. I would follow up 3 times.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're back. Yeah.
Finally, they'll just be like, all right, just what are you selling? What are you selling? What are you selling? And then if I got to the point where I could start selling and educating them and informing them on my product, it was a pretty good chance I was going to make a sale.
My dad's in sales, and he always says, like, you've got to get in front of them. That's like the main thing. Once you get in front of them, you're pretty much golden, but you've got to get to that point where you're building those relationships and getting face to face.
Got to get in front of the decision maker.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
And be able to articulate how you or your product can bring value to them.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just like, people ain't just going to sell you stuff just because you got the balls to go sell.
To go knock on their door. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get that
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Then everybody do it.
Yeah. Well, that's very true. Yep. We could start a gizzard sale. You could do a gizzard yard sale.
Oh, I think we could.
In the front yard.
I think we could definitely.
We could build a monopoly.
kill it on the gizzard game.
Well, I told the girls that I'm judging with, who are both, one's Navajo and one's I think Muskogee is her tribe, and they were both like, "What's a gizzard?" And I was like, "You've never had a gizzard?" And that was like the topic of the weekend when I told them I was going to come do the podcast, because I was like, "Yeah, we had this whole conversation about livers and gizzards and the fact that Mississippi gas stations sell food, and it's crazy."
We still have to do.
We've got to do
the
this
gizzard and the liver
taste testing. And I don't even know what gas stations here are the good ones for the gizzards and the livers.
Well, I have done that much research.
Oh, you've gotten a little bit.
I have done.
Headed in the right
I have
direction.
compiled some information on who has the gizzards and livers. Like,
well, share with the people if they want to go. Maybe you should do a challenge, a gizzard challenge. People of Philadelphia, go out, get your gizzards from the following locations, and vote on them. Do a vote.
I think that
a
is
social
a good
media
idea.
vote. Oh, did I take down your microphone?
It's tough.
I'm passionate.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I want to see how you don't dress your gizzards or livers, do you? You just eat them straight up.
What if you put? I think I put ketchup on them last time I ate them.
Ketchup and hot sauce is the
I
route
feel like
I go.
ketchup is the way to go.
Also, the time that we had the podcast scheduled for, I was a little reluctant to. I mean, I could have requested fresh gizzards and livers from these places, but most gas stations,
they start cooking them in the morning.
Yeah, and they're out there at like 9.
Oh, golly. What are the places that I need to stop at?
Marathon gas station has them.
Okay.
That's on Poplar Avenue.
Okay. Somebody named one earlier.
Main Street.
Maybe that was it.
Junction has gizzards and liver. Chevron out by.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this many options.
Williamsville has them.
Not many fast food places, but you got no shortage of gizzards.
And then the Junction in Union, which is about 15 miles south of here, has them as well. And there are more places. I haven't run across them yet.
That's insane. It's crazy. Wow. Interesting. Now,
chicken is I saw this morning that chicken is the number one agricultural product bringing in. It brought in
Mississippi?
In Mississippi.
Yeah, I believe it.
It brought in 62 million. Yeah. Maybe no. It was more than $100 million in revenue last year.
Oh, I've got another question for you, because when I go back to my judging panel, they literally looked me in the eye. One's from Arizona, one's from Oklahoma, and they said, "What is Southern hospitality?" So, from the man himself, tell us what's your definition of Southern hospitality?
Simply put, my opinion, Southern hospitality is when someone comes in my house that they feel like it's their house.
Mm-hmm.
And
I said food. I was like, kind of food and people, kind of sum it up into 2 words.
Yeah, food is definitely a component.
Part of it.
It's definitely a component, because we gather. I mean, most humans gather around food, but we do it on another level in the South.
Yeah.
And the nature of people, like that Southern hospitality vibe and way of doing things, is built into our DNA.
Yeah, it's just the way that we were raised.
So people and food, manners,
yeah, which that you don't find that many other places in the world.
generosity.
I found it very interesting, like on my travels across, to different states, that people get offended when you say yes ma'am and no sir. Like, it's just so crazy. They literally get angry because they're like, "Oh, that's offensive. Don't call me sir." Isn't that weird?
There's a huge disconnect.
Yeah, it's two different ways of life.
And like, I just don't understand how one could not be approving of having someone treat them with respect.
Yeah. But I will say, the older I get, the more it's like jarring when somebody's like, "Yes, ma'am." I'm like, "Stop it." I'm like, "Don't say that." I'm not old.
Same, but it's also it's a signal of
we
respect.
Understand though.
Like,
what it means.
Absolutely. Like when I hear a kid just say yeah.
Oh, that
to an adult,
that wouldn't fly in my household.
That's representative of so many more problems than just that child not having manners.
Yeah,
they haven't.
It's a discipline problem.
They haven't been taught it.
Yeah,
they're too hard headed, which most kids aren't.
You can teach a kid anything
for sure, sure. And so when there's that lack of respect there for an adult, it's just like, okay, I'm dealing with a whole different child than if I do get the yes sir, the no sir, and like please and thank you and all that different stuff.
Well, that's just common courtesy. I feel like it doesn't matter if you're from the north, the south, the east, the west. Thank you and please and no thank you. I mean, it's just the way of good practice and behavior.
Genuinely caring.
Yeah.
about how someone is doing is another huge component of
Southern
hospitality.
Mm-hmm. And I think that once you've learned Southern hospitality and been raised in that environment, you'll never be able to get rid of it. Because even when I try to not say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am to the people that get offended by it, it's like it's in my veins. I'll never be able to break that habit because it's more than just a habit. It's a lifestyle.
When I went to Austin,
I need to make sure I don't say yes, ma'am, and no, sir?
Well, they loved it from me.
Okay.
I mean, I was just conducting myself the way I would.
The way you always would.
Yeah. And the accent and
they're Texas.
But they're not the South.
Well, I did just recently travel to San Antonio, and I will say that is very true. They're the South, and it's hot, and it's a dry heat and stuff, but it's not the same as the way that we.
Are you driving or flying?
Am I driving to Austin?
To Austin.
I'm flying.
Okay. I was going to say, if you were driving, I think the South, the true deep South ends when you get right before you get to Dallas.
Huh. Yeah, I believe it. Dallas is very metropolitan.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, these metro areas in Texas, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, 5 of the fastest growing metros.
Have you ever been to San Antonio?
No.
It's hot. It was 112 degrees when I went. Not good.
But it's more of it doesn't suffocate you.
It's not humid. Yeah.
And those cities have people from all over the freaking world.
Yeah.
And so culture is lost.
Yeah.
It's
completely different. Yeah. The influence, the Hispanic influence in San Antonio was really cool. I had a lot of good tacos, a lot of good guacamole. So good.
That's what I love about cities is that you can get a taste
of everything.
Of so many different cultures.
Yeah.
But it's weird because if you go to let's stay in Texas.
Yeah.
So if you go down to downtown Austin, Texas, you can get a taste of a lot of different types of cultures.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go, I would imagine, 60 miles outside of Austin to a more rural setting,
it's going to be more.
It would be more representative of Texas culture.
Yeah.
As opposed to that.
I agree with that.
That melting pot that brings itself to the city.
Are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, do you have any restaurant recommendations for Austin?
I don't.
Oh.
Everything was mapped out.
Yeah, everything was already planned for you. Yeah. All you had to do was go have fun.
All I had to do was show up. And they did it right.
Which I have a feeling my Miss America sister that lives there, she's going to have it all mapped out for us, and she's got a plan.
She probably knows.
Girls have itineraries. That's how we run the vacations. It's not really ever relaxed. It is relaxing, but it's also, you're going to wear this, you're going to do this at this time, and,
Very regimented.
Very regimented, yeah.
Well, I think to do everything you want to do and be as efficient as possible, you got to lay it out.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I brought him to Mississippi, I was like, what would I take him to do?
That's the problem we have.
Well, that's not a problem. We could take him to the fair, which that's only 2 weeks out of the year. I'd probably take him to the coast. I went to the coast a couple of weeks ago to the White House Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It was really relaxing. I'd say it's more of not a family place, but a couple's trip that I would take rather than a girl's trip. But there's this restaurant called White Pillars, and the chef at White Pillars was on Food Network, and he's about to appear on Chopped, but he is incredible. We got to meet him and try a lot of his signature dishes. And when I tell you, some of the best fish I've ever eaten in my life was at that restaurant.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that you'll never go short of in Mississippi. And I just keep talking about it, but it's the food, we kind of show our love through taking people to try different foods. And it's different from the top of the state where you can get a slug burger in Corinth, or the bottom where you can eat amazing seafood in the South.
And what did you think about the slug burger?
I didn't eat one because I was like, even I found out what was inside of it, and I was like, I'm not trying that.
I told you. No. I told you. I remember you. I think you were going the next day.
I was about to go. Yeah. Well, I got there, and that was their first question. Have you gone to the whatever place to get the slug burger? And I was like, I have not. And they're like, you should stop by there for lunch. And then I was like, what is it? And then they started telling me the different things that were in it. And I was like, I don't know about that.
So what does it consist of?
I think it's like mystery meat. It kind of
reminds like Spam.
Yeah, but fried up to disguise the fact that it's mystery meat. So I'm good. Yeah. Not for me.
Yeah, not me either. I will eat pint of sausages, though.
I won't. You won't catch me eating those.
I like the hot kind. Put them on a cracker.
Oh, gosh.
I'll do sardines every now and then, too.
Absolutely not. You're crazy.
I am that.
Yeah. I'm like, that is not good. That's terrible.
It's gas station food.
What about it?
That's what I eat.
Oh, that's what you eat. That's your diet.
No, I don't eat. Let me clarify.
Okay.
I do not eat Vienna sausages and sardines on a regular basis.
Well, that's
However,
good. It's probably not healthy.
I have been. Sardines are.
Probably too salty.
They are pretty salty. Depends on what kind. Like if you just get the straight up ones, it's obviously not as bad for you. But I like to get the hot ones with the hot sauce.
Oh gosh. No thanks. You can't disguise something that's bad with hot sauce. You keep saying hot sauce for everything that sounds kind of gross, like every food we list. I'm like, you can't just hide everything in hot sauce.
You can, though.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yeah. No.
It does have an effect on subpar food.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That makes it tolerable.
I agree. I'll give you that one. That's it.
I also like the sardines that come in mustard.
Oh gosh. It's getting worse and worse. Do you have rapid fire questions for me? Did you prepare them this time?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I've been preparing for this moment since the last time we filmed this podcast.
Are you ready though?
Are they bad? Are they hard?
I don't think so. I just did the first 5 that popped in my head.
Okay.
All right.
Well, how long have you been coming up with these?
I sat down this morning and did it.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Did your homework.
I did my homework.
Okay.
All right. Biggest turn off when on first date.
Oh my gosh. When they make you pay the bill.
They do that?
Well, no, I mean, like that's happened to me before, but like, and I've heard a horror story of it happening to a good friend of mine, but like like if they don't pay for the bill, especially the first date, bye. And I think that's another thing about Southern hospitality is we have higher expectations for the men, like open the door. And, you know, I've dated people that didn't open the door and it bothered me.
It should.
Yeah. Because it's not, chivalry isn't dead, I guess is the good way to put it.
It's not dead.
But it's been unlearned and it's kind of, it's gotten fainter in our society, I guess is the best way to put it.
I guess so. I've never really seen a whole lot of evidence of it in my lifetime. So I don't know that I can't speak for like the 50s and the 60s or the you know, back in the day, obviously when I wasn't alive, but I do think there is a shortage of it currently.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think my second biggest, like, I guess the new word is the ick that people are saying, like your ick about somebody is if somebody's too self-absorbed. I think that's another thing. Like they don't take the time to get to know you too. Because sometimes I feel like people just want to project themselves and all their accomplishments on you. And in reality, you just want to go sit down and get to know somebody like a friend before you take it to the next level.
That is one of the...
What's yours?
That one's probably the biggest that rubs me the wrong way is when a person wants to just talk about themselves.
And you're like, you don't want a job interview. You're just here to talk about life and get to know each other. Yeah.
Right. And when it's self-absorbed, self-centered, and you know, when I have a conversation with someone and that's the way it goes,
you kind of instantly know.
Well, I'm able to, the older I get, recognize that's going to carry over into
the rest of your life. Yeah.
You know, the rest of how they conduct themselves.
Well, my mom always said this is her best dating advice. She was like, if something bothers you, like to the point where you can't stand it, it's going to continue to bother you for the rest of your life. Like they're not going to change that one thing. And it's not necessarily saying I'm not saying people are perfect. I'm just saying that if it's something that really, really, really ticks you off, you better recognize that red flag because it will always be waving.
Yes, take note of it.
Yeah.
People very rarely change.
No.
And if they have habits that are cringeworthy, then those habits they've likely been doing them long before they met you.
And long after.
That's right.
Yeah.
And most people are reluctant and hesitant and resistant to change. And so I think that's the biggest mistake I see men and women make is to have the audacity to think that they're going to change somebody.
Yeah.
You know, if they've got, oh, well, he doesn't, you know, when we get married, he's not going to drink that much.
Well, and I think we live in a society where social media it has made dating 17,000 times harder because what's happening is people are getting to know each other over their smartphones. And so once they get in person, sometimes they even, in a way, they miss the red flags because they're able to do it artificially over the phone and get to know each other in a way that's filtered, I guess is the best way to put it. That's why I'm like, sometimes being authentic and meeting somebody in an authentic way is a lot better for weeding out those, you know, icks, I guess.
So are you saying that you're not on the dating apps?
Absolutely not. Never in my life will you see me on a dating app. The day that you see my face fly by on one of those dating apps, call me because somebody's kidnapped me or taken my phone.
So what's your issue with the dating apps?
I think that dating apps are just, once again, I think some people have genuinely met their person on a dating app, but I think that a relationship built over a cell phone is hard to get off the ground. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to pose a scenario for you.
Okay.
Two people meet.
Okay.
Via a dating app.
Okay.
And they meet and hit it off, and they have great conversations, in-person conversations, have great relationship, and they go on to love each other, get married, and they live happily ever after.
That sounds like a perfect scenario.
But do you think that's possible?
Yeah, no, I think it's possible, but
do you think there's anything wrong with that?
No, not at all. I think that's totally the world that we live in today. But just personally, I don't think that I could do it. I really don't.
Would you have reservations about moving forward?
Yes.
If you met someone,
I didn't even hear the question, and yes,
on
a dating app. Yes.
So that stigma's going to stay regardless if he's like perfect.
He could be literally Channing Tatum, and I could be like, I don't know, I don't know. Something about the cell phone, getting to know him online kind of freaks me out.
That exists to me to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I am on the dating apps.
Okay, he's on the dating apps, ladies.
I find it very entertaining.
Okay, to just message back and forth and have fun with it.
Yeah, but it's like anything else though. The more you pay, the more you get out of it. The more accurate it is.
My thing is, like, I've heard horror stories of girls, like the guy tells the girl that he's like 6'3", and then they show up and he's like 5'4", and he sounds totally different and looks totally different. Like, just so many, you set yourself up for so many scary things happen. So that's why I feel like if I met somebody over the phone that was maybe introduced to me through a mutual friend that they knew he actually existed, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I could trust that better, but hit me with number 2.
Hold on, before we move on from
I'm
that.
like, this is such a hard topic. We got deep on the rapid fire.
So what if you randomly go to AutoZone today?
And I met the love of my life.
But how is that any different from randomly meeting someone on an app?
Because I assume that if we're at the same town at an AutoZone, that we'll be able to meet up again in person. And that I probably could, because I'm from the South, I probably could figure out whose grandma and grandpa and parents were and what kind of person he was.
You've got something. You've got it out for the dating apps.
I'm like, no dating apps here. Yeah.
Okay. Biggest turn on?
Kindness. I think that when people are humble, kind, hardworking's a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's, makes all the difference. And I've always heard that you look for a life partner that has the qualities of like the people in your life that you look up to the most, whether that be your parents or a sibling, like, not in a bad way, just in like, you look at their amazing qualities that they've raised you to believe in, and you go, that's kind of what I want in a future partner. Obviously, Christian and, wakes up every day ready to tackle the day and be the best version of themselves is mine. And then obviously if you look like Channing Tatum, that's the other one.
It's a plus.
Yeah, that's a plus too. I mean, it's an added bonus. Yeah.
I have thought about looking for a long-term partner in much the same way. We all have
in the qualities,
an example in the way of our parents.
Yeah.
But keeping it all the way 100, there are things about my parents' marriage that
you don't,
that I don't,
that you want to do differently, or you don't,
yeah.
you
and
don't
so
see
I
yourself.
have to be careful.
Yeah.
About looking like I'm not out here. I love my mother.
Yeah.
Obviously, think
if
she's a great woman.
He loves you, Mom.
But I'm not going and looking for my mother.
No.
In a woman.
No, I totally agree.
Because I think a lot of men
do make that mistake.
Yes.
The mama's boys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They do, yeah.
They want the wife to
emulate that mother figure.
Very much so. Cook the same dishes,
which
use the same.
In a partnership, you're more of a best friend in a like co-inhabitor living in the same house and raising a life together, and you kind of have to support one another. Sometimes you have to give 80 when they can't give their 50. You know what I mean?
Compromise.
Yeah. It's a tug of war. It's push and pull.
There has to be compromise.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's 50-50.
It's more of a friendship than a maternal, like you said, like you
Correct.
don't want to look for somebody who's going to be doing the laundry, and
right.
You have to also put in the effort, kind of thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what is your greatest insecurity?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I thought these were going to be like, what's your favorite fast food restaurant?
Fooled you.
What's my greatest insecurity? I think that, being in pageants for the last, I guess, 3 years have drawn out a lot of insecurities in terms of like, what is it that I'm insecure about? And for the longest time, it was my height because I'm only 5'1". And so I've always said, like, if I could just be 5'7" or 5'8", then, things would be different in the world of modeling or in the world of pageantry. And in some ways, I think that you do have to be tall to, fit in certain pageant systems. But at the same time, I've also found that being 5'1" has been a tool that I've been able to use to reach people and show them that, yes, I may be 5'1", but I can grace the stage just as well as anybody else that's 6 foot tall. You know what I mean?
You have presence.
Yeah, you have to have presence. It's more than just your physical appearance or your
Yes.
height. And that's something that I've been able to prove to myself, and I've been able to use it as an asset when I am a mentor to young girls. I'm like, maybe my purpose is not to be the 6 foot tall model. Maybe it's to use this to show girls that you can be 5'1" and be successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Presence, intangibles.
Yeah.
All of that can make up for what you lack in height.
That's my physical insecurity. I think that we also have mental insecurities, or,
even more so than
yeah,
physical.
yeah. And so I think my other insecurity is my desire to be a perfectionist. I think that can be difficult sometimes because sometimes I don't ever rest, if that makes sense. Like, I'm constantly pushing myself to think what's next. And sometimes we forget to stop and look around and go, you know what? Just enjoy the now. Enjoy what you're doing. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks about your current situation or about who you're trying to be in your life. Because at the end of the day, there's only 2 people it matters to, and that's yourself and the big guy upstairs.
Yeah. When I first started going to therapy, I didn't know what
Oh yeah, I love therapy. It's awesome.
I didn't know what the term being present, or what is the phrase, the clinical phrase that they use for staying present. Anyway, it'll come to me. But my therapist started guiding me on how to do it, and she started at, when you're in the shower, just focus on the water running down, hitting your head and running down your body and feeling the water go all the way to your toes, and just recognize to be in that you're in that moment. And then she built it from there. Now do this scenario, do this scenario until and finally, and it didn't take me long. After I practiced it, it did 2 things. It made me happier.
Yeah. Because you're not as worried about the future.
Right. Yeah. Less anxiety.
Oh my gosh.
But it also, and even more importantly, proved to me that I can change how I think.
Exactly. And our own minds can sometimes be our worst enemy, because it's incredible what the human mind can do. But I've learned this through pageantry, there's a lot of people have a lot of stuff to say, and you're a spectator you're on stage, they're spectating from the audience, but a lot of people have opinions about how you conduct yourself, what they would do different if it were them, when in reality, it's so hard to get up there and do what these women do. Same thing for sports. It's harder to play the game than to sit in the bench and watch the person play. And so I think that reminding yourself that, a lot of the times people don't really care, people's opinions don't matter, is so critical in the world of competition in general.
Yeah, being the man in the arena, so to speak.
Yes, that isn't there a poem or something? Yeah, it's amazing.
That's where I would prefer to be, as opposed to be as a spectator
in the crowd,
being critical. And I can't quote the saying or whatever it is, but it basically says that the most criticism will be thrown towards the man in the arena, but being the man in the arena actually has the most courage. To go out there, put themselves on a limb and be vulnerable.
People talk because people are insecure, and people are sorting through their own insecurities. When they're spectating at something that is greater than they feel like they can achieve, that's when they become critical. Usually
the loudest people are the most insecure.
Yeah, totally agree.
Like, from that scenario to just a room full of friends. Like if somebody's flaunting how much money they got,
then they've got the biggest hole in their heart. Yeah. What's your biggest insecurities?
Probably not achieving the level of success as quickly as I think I should from a financial standpoint.
That's an interesting one.
Now, depression and anxiety are two things that I wrestle with. So that can be, pick a day.
The older I've gotten, the more the anxiety I feel like has become present in my life. And my therapist actually said that that's completely normal. And she thinks it's because I traveled all year long. And so she's like, I think you've been able to see a lot of the world and what really happens in the world and the bad that the world brings to the table. And so sometimes when we see our worst fears, we kind of adopt them in the form of anxiety. And so I thought that was kind of interesting.
2 more.
Okay. Got you.
Would you rather have money or fame?
Wait, don't they both go hand in hand?
You can have both, or let's say you can have one or the other.
I think I would want the money because I've always heard that fame isn't always what it's cracked up to be. So I think I would want to have the money, and I'd help people with the money that I was given. Then I'd also probably buy a yacht and go on a lot of vacations and shop to balance it out. But yeah, sometimes fame I feel like can be depleting. So
you're right. They do typically go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I want all the money. I don't want the fame.
I don't really want the fame either.
I don't want the fame. Being famous, I've never been famous, but I can imagine.
County line's famous. So.
Well, is Neshoba County famous?
Yeah, it's Neshoba County famous. You don't have paparazzis knocking on your door.
Which I already knew everybody, so.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter anyway. You'd be like, come on in, take my picture.
Yep. But having fame and just trying to conduct, like Kanye West fame.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I mean, you can't go anywhere.
No. Can't go to the grocery store, and the grocery shopping's literally like free therapy for me.
And you gotta have people around you all the time to protect you, like Trump fame.
You can't just be yourself without being recognized. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
That'd be difficult.
You really can't live in your own world.
Yeah, I'm good.
Everybody's all up in your shit. All right, dream vehicle.
Okay, that is one thing about me is I don't care about cars. So that's my answer. I've never cared about the kind of car I drove, ever.
That's a good quality to have because, especially at your...
I like the size of the car matters to me, but the type of car, I could care less.
So there's not one that just catches your eye and you're like, damn, get paid. I'm going to give me one of them.
No, like I've never thought, oh my gosh, I drive an Acura, but that's nothing bougie or crazy. But I'm like, I've never gone, oh my God, a dream car.
Some people would argue that an Acura is bougie or crazy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it gets me from point A to point B. And as long as I have enough room for my clothes, I'm good. I got like a clothing rack in the back with all the outfits that I got to take from.
Yeah, you got your mini closet.
I live in that car basically still. Yeah, you'd think that I would have moved out of it by now.
I've come to face the fact that women are just going to have a lot of clothes.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
It just is what it is.
I could probably buy a new car with all the clothes that I have.
I have.
If I combined them all.
Very few clothes.
Really?
And it's
You're minimalist.
Unintentionally.
Okay.
Unintentionally.
What's your dream car then? You don't like clothes?
I have a lot of dream cars.
Okay. Top number one.
Number one would be whatever the current year is, Escalade, white, decked out.
Is that a car or a truck?
It's an SUV.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Decked out to the nine, leather seats.
Like a security, it looks like the SUVs they drive around famous people.
Mm-hmm.
They're driving me around in that this weekend to the fair. And we're riding a limo tonight, so.
Bougie.
Get ready. I know, but that is the definition of bougie. Maybe my dream car should be a limousine.
Yeah, but y'all are being treated.
Yes, they've rolled out the red carpet. It's crazy.
So what time is the pageant?
It is at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. So come out. Yep.
I might do it.
You should do it. Yeah.
I am going to go to the Porterhouse. Daniel Sharp is playing.
Is that a restaurant here?
Mm-hmm. It's a couple blocks up.
That'll be fun.
Right off the square.
And then you just come to the pageant.
Well, he starts at 6. And so.
Oh, yeah.
I got a little time conflict there, but.
Uh-oh. I might choose the restaurant with air conditioning too.
Well, I tend to operate spontaneously because it's just me. I don't have kids, wife, any of that stuff.
So you just kind of go where the wind takes you.
That is correct. And I love it.
That's awesome.
Emmie, I appreciate you coming by.
Thank you for having me on the county line for round 2.
Absolutely. So in about 3 or 4 months.
Gizzards round 3. Yeah.
Third time's the charm.
Yep.
Anything you want to tell the county line congregation before we go?
I hope that y'all are ready for the gizzard taste test. And if you try them in Philadelphia or across any gas station in Mississippi, drop your favorites below.